And rounding out our slate of speakers today is District Attorney Ben David, who, as we mentioned earlier, was here last year and spoke about the role of the business community in dealing with poverty and crime in our larger community. Ben would like to show you what he and others have been up to this year in light of last year's talk with a short video produced by Matt Davis.
This initiative is like nothing that I've seen before. You can give a man food to eat. You can give a man clothes. But at the end of the day, giving a man a job will change his life. And I'm living proof of that.
This is an opportunity, and it's not surprising to me that it came out of Wilmington because we're known to innovate. There's nothing like this. No other United Way has heard of something quite this unique. But anyone we've talked to realizes that this is the real opportunity to attack generational poverty.
The vast majority of crime that I see down at the courthouse is preventable. It really comes down to waging a war on poverty, not just a war on drugs or a war on violent criminals. There's a whole class of people that can get out of intergenerational poverty if we have the will as a community to make that happen. And so what this effort to me is really all about is connecting great people to each other. Incredible employers with incredible employees. And that bridge between those two is the United Way, it's the nonprofit partners, it's the people engaged in this Hometown Hires campaign.
Hometown Hires is solving really issues of chronic unemployment. They're helping folks who don't necessarily have the relationships that it may take to get a good job. They're solving the problem of opportunity.
I got involved in Hometown Hires because I know that they can find you a job that you can progress in and not just have a job that is a dead-end job. Being involved with Hometown Hire gives me hope because I know that if they can help me, there's a lot of other people in the same situation I'm in that can get help. And if I get help, I can help somebody else help themselves also.
Not all the answers to our problems reside in government. A lot of the best answers really can come from the private sector, and that's what Hometown Hires is all about. It's about creating opportunities. That's what we really need. You know, we talk about not just giving a person a fish, but teaching them to fish. This is about giving them access to the pond.
We want to have resources to empower our community to do for themselves. We don't always want to ask for handouts or money from other people to do for us what we want to do for ourselves. All we need is an opportunity, and that's what Hometown Hires is. At the end of the day, it's about love.
Yeah, I actually had one of my younger friends, he was like, yeah, I look up to you, and it kind of shocked me. I was like, you look up to me? I was like, made me feel a little proud inside. I was kind of like, what, really? Because every time you see me, like, yeah, you been working on time, don't you? I'm like, yeah, I've been working, man. Like, man, I need to find me a job. I guess from hearing me always talk about, what you doing? I'm going to work, I'm coming back from work. Like, he ended up getting him a job. So I think him seeing me work all the time kind of like encouraged him to go find him a job.
So many people, unfortunately, have gone through a big portion of their life hearing no, sorry, you didn't graduate high school, you just got your GED, or no, you don't have the skills, or you don't know the right people. So to be able to meet with somebody and tell them, no, you can do this. You do want to work. You are a hard worker. You've got it. You can be an asset to many employers.
There is personal accountability, and then there's community responsibility. I will continue to hold people personally responsible for the crimes they commit. This is about making sure that we as a community look at the place we want to live and understand that there's going to be a whole category of folks, whether they've been in the system or not, who have not yet had a shot at the American dream. You don't need to commit a crime in order to be eligible for Hometown Hires. Many of the people that we are employing through this program are just trying to raise their families. What we're talking about right now is breaking the back of intergenerational poverty. This is local, not national, so it's Wilmington, not Washington. This is about the private sector marrying up with the nonprofits to really form those relationships. It's not about government. And most importantly, this is not a handout, it's a hand up. That's the key to this entire campaign, and this is why it's working.
Verdict. Verdict means to speak the truth.
Last year when I came here, I had some tough news to deliver to you. And to be clear, there are district attorneys throughout America having the same difficult conversations because what we're seeing show up at the courthouse is bigger than we in the justice system can solve alone right now. You know, it's said that the district attorney is the keeper of the public conscience. That's because we see a lot of terrible things and we see a lot of great things. Last year when I was talking about the young people joining forces to commit a crime, we had to acknowledge a reality that when they act in concert, they do things together that they would never do on their own, and people get affected in ways that would have never happened if individuals were just doing it by themselves. Well, the same thing is going on right now with hometown hires, because what you are really seeing today is that when greatness comes together, in the nonprofit world, we call that coordination and collaboration. In the business context, we call it synergy, win-win. What's going on right now is also the truth. And to be clear, you can handle it. This guy was ringing in my ear when I was talking. I said, maybe people will think I'm not tough on crime. No, I think you get it. We're going to be tough on crime. This is about tough love, and there's a love aspect to this mission too. And so what I want to remind you about the truth is this. It has twin properties, and just ask a defendant. The tough part about the truth is sometimes the truth hurts. But sometimes, every now and then, the truth will set you free. And so what we're talking about with this Hometown Hires campaign is bringing great business people together. And if you ever get an opportunity to join forces with this man, I highly recommend it. If Chip Mahan asks you to do something, say yes. This was my business partner to launch this campaign. He co-authored a letter with me to dozens of you to invite you into that building to hear about the plan. We needed a strategic business plan, and here's what it was. We were going for the ripple effect. The ripple effect basically says we want people who are locally planted in this community to get these opportunities, not to bring it from somewhere else. I'm talking about the employees now. Employers are a different story. Because if that one person who's living in deep poverty gets a $40,000 a year job, that's like $500,000 to many of you. And that one family unit that they're with can get out of that circumstance. And if there's a force multiplier of several of you doing it, that can change a whole neighborhood, it can change a whole region. But hope is not a strategy. We needed a plan. And so what we did is we first engaged the United Way. You saw some of the incredible people in this video. Let me start with Pat Ahern. She spent her career in the corporate America, knows what you guys are looking for in employees. If we're not going to put the very best people in front of you, then it doesn't work. You don't run a charity, you run a business. And so she was going to be responsible for screening a lot of these applicants. Tommy Taylor in the middle, he knows all the nonprofits, the 45 that were working in this youth enrichment zone, knows the relationships of the people involved, has seen some through several years when they were children, now adults, or grandmothers just trying to raise kids needing a job too. And then Jameer. Jameer grew up in public housing. He says the street was an equal opportunity employer. He went through the same system I run. And when he got out, he realized, I never want to go back. His story is incredible. He could be a speaker up here too. Jameer went to Cape Fear Community College, became the student body president. I hired him to help run the Blue Ribbon Commission at DC. Virgo quickly realized we had a star on our hands. First college graduate from his family, UNCW. Jameer is someone who is helping to coordinate this program as well. Can we give all three of them a hand for what they're doing? But the first thing we did is we brought in the nonprofits, and several of you are here right now into Live Oak, and we said, give us the folks that you have known through the years would be great for this. We're not going to drive around a bus and say, get on if you want a job. We're talking about who would you let babysit your kids. Just as an example, Jarvis, who you saw in that video, and I see Jimmy Pierce from Kids Making It, he first met Jarvis as a 12-year-old 14 years ago. And Jarvis has been with him ever since, grown into a man to be a mentor. And so when it was time for Jarvis to get a job, we were easily able to connect him with Michael McCorder, who runs Mojo Music in Burgaw. And we said, you know, this is going to work. We're sure of it. That was our very first hometown hire. And you can see all of these different groups feeding into it. But we didn't stop there. What we also realized we needed to do was background checks, because all of you are going to want to know who's in front of you. And we have a nationally headquartered place in Castle Branch that is walking the walk. Not only have they hired someone through Hometown Hires, but they're doing all of our criminal background checks for free. Can we give Brad Martin a hand for that? Now, 2/3 of the people who are released from prison will be back there in 2 years if we do nothing. That's 1,600 people a year that are coming out of jail and prison back to Wilmington. We need for them to succeed. I'll keep you safe with inputs, putting the worst of the worst in prison. But what we really need to be focusing on is outputs. People who are out on probation, people who are getting out on parole. What chance do they have? Now, the most conservative legislature in our state's history passed a law last year that you wouldn't think the district attorney is trying to give life to, but in fact it is. It's called the expungement law, and here's basically what it says. If you've been clean for 10 years and you've had only one nonviolent felony on your record, we can get that removed. Now, why is that a good idea? Well, 40% of occupations out there, from cutting hair to welding to engineering and electricians, you need those occupational licenses. So we need to get those records clean for that. Think about the woman who's raising her kids in public housing and has to choose between the father of her children and her children because he can't live with them with that felony on his record. There's a lot of other reasons. The bottom line is, it's a great thing to get that record removed if you're able. So I hired 30 law students. I reached out to the Governor's Crime Commission and to the Chief Justice and said, can you give me a little bit of money? I want to buy hotel rooms for all these kids. They're going to be here in October to help run this clinic. 500 people showed up. 500 people showed up. That's a game changer. Now, we also made sure that we were going to have continuing education. And I want to just quickly say that Cape Fear Community College has been here from the very beginning. Ted Spring partnered with us and said, what do you need? We're going to personally make sure that job-ready applicants are there when these employers need it. And we're also going to make sure that the mentors who are going to be partnering outside of the hiring agencies are there to walk folks through their entire career path. This, again, is about relationships. And so there's been some wonderful efforts formed around making sure that this is not just an event, but it's a process. And that was quietly going on for months. And now, what have been the results? Well, in a tri-county area, I'm pleased to report today that we've had 88 people hired through hometown hires by some of these great companies. Can we give them a hand for their leadership? This time last year, I invoked the memory of Dan Cameron. You might remember in the mid-1950s, where you are sitting right now was the biggest rail station on the East Coast. And they gave notice to Dan, the mayor, that they were picking up sticks and they were going down to Florida. And he was given a 5-year notice that you better do something because everyone's going to lose their mortgages and homes. And so what Dan did is he formed what is now known as the Committee of 100, where we're going to have to move at the speed of business, not just the speed of government, to solve this. And he reached out and made sure that there was going to be things in place for those employees to go into to continue to stay right in this incredible region. Well, when I started this with CHIP, we of course went out to Scott Satterfield, who's now the head of it. We talked to Billy King, who's also at that airport, and we told him of our plan to get some of these CEOs. They loved the idea. They said, you know, the ripple effect is not just what you're doing here, Ben, but we get on those airplanes that Julie was just talking about, and we fly around the country. We think this wave of change could sweep to a lot of different employers. Let us have that video. We're going to play it for them. Well, I'm pleased to report that, you know, we talk about precedent in the courthouse and that what happened in the past will happen again. Trains don't usually come full circle. They usually run in a linear progression, but in this case, something amazing happened. There was this man, this boy who grew up in Boston. The waves lapped into Cape Cod and came onto the streets of Boston in this ripple effect, and he's really got his own story. Here he is, Don Crotu. Don looked poverty straight in the eye as a young child himself. And what he said to me upon watching this video and what he said to Jameer and others at United Way, he said, I get it. These employees aren't going to succeed despite their past. They're going to succeed because of it. Because adversity built my character, and I like what you're doing. I'll tell you what. I'd like to bring my company that builds rail cars back to Wilmington. And I think you've got a proud history. I don't need incentives. Respectfully, your people are your greatest resource, and you're proving that to me in this room right now. I'm going to do this. And you know what? There's 1,300 jobs coming with me. 1,200 are going to be from your local community, and the first 150 are coming from hometown hires. What an amazing man. And so, here we are last month. And he said, Ben, can you let the secret out? I want to put on the sign that, of course, Wilmington Business Development helped me get here, and that Cape Fear is going to continue to train these incredible employees. But can you just tell the other CEOs what this is about? I said, of course I'll do that. In fact, I want to bring you with me to quickly introduce you to these amazing people. Can you give a warm Wilmington welcome to Don Crotu? Don, come on up here. Chip Mahan and I just wanted to give you something from the kids at Kids Making It that simply says, setting down roots, leaving a legacy. I believe you're going to be doing that, Don, and you're my favorite employer all of a sudden. So why don't you quickly tell them who you are?
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. How are you? It's really an honor to be here today and speak to so many people. I've become, to some degree, probably the face of Hometown Hires because of the visibility that Vertex Rail has in the community as of late. But I'm not here for Vertex Rail. I'm here for Ben. I'm here for Hometown Hires. It's his heart, soul, and vision that made it possible for me to see it. I'm really just a vehicle for what I think is a tremendous program, a tremendous opportunity for all of us. You know, as leaders, as CEOs, as men, as women in the community, we have a lot of push on us to be good, to make money, to hit the bottom line, to be a good example, to do all the things we're supposed to do every day. And I tell my companies as we move forward that we have kind of two messages we should be presenting. One is we do have to be good. We have to make money. We have to be profitable. We have to hire people. We have to hit our metrics. We have to do all the things everybody in this room has to deal with every day, every night. And it can be rather daunting from time to time. I can assure you that many times we're not sure we'll survive to the next day, but we do, because that's who we all are. But I also tell my guys and my girls that we have an obligation to do good as well. And that doesn't mean you have to have 10% of your hires be hometown hires. That doesn't mean you have to do anything significant. It just means you have to try every day and do your best. And I'm really lucky that when I walked in the door here about a month and a half ago, well, actually 11 months ago, but when I sat down with Cape Fear Community College and we were talking about the number of people we needed to hire, and it's a large number. 1,300 people is a lot. You think of 10, you think of 12, you think of 50, that's pretty easy. But when you talk about 1,300, it is a stunning number. And they presented what they thought would be a great plan, and they kind of we were all collectively putting kind of a corporate barrier around our hiring practices. And I said, wait a minute, hold out, time out. I knew where I came from, and some of you know my story. I've been very lucky in my life to break through a really difficult early life, and I consider myself lucky to do it. I didn't do it by myself. So I said, we need to open up the net, because we're not going to fill, from a selfish standpoint, we're not going to fill 1,300 jobs with just this group of people, this skill set, this mindset, this attitude and opinion we think we have of people. And I said, we need to go out to the greater community. And nobody knew what that meant. So I said, well, there has to be somebody around who knows what we can do in terms of opening up the net. And that's how I met Ben, and that's how I met Jameer, who is a spectacular individual, by the way. And that's how I met Hometown Hires. And we said, well, what can we do together to create a broader net, to create a better opportunity for Vertex, obviously, and maybe create a broader opportunity for the city and the people in the city. And that's how we're together today. So I would encourage you, obviously, as leaders, as men, as women, as CEOs, as business people, to be good. That's our job. I'd ask you to do your best to do good. Something will come of it, whether it be one hire, one more dime, one more dollar, one more minute, one more hour, whatever it takes for you to be a little bit different, a little bit better, and to do good. Just do your best and try to do that. I consider myself an honored person to know Ben, to be part of Hometown Hires, even just a little bit, and to maybe be a voice for it moving forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good job. Very well done. Thank you.